thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and giving of your time to share with us today. Thank you, Deborah. I mean, you know, it's so great when you get to have special moments to share with people that you care about and people that care about you. But Deborah and I go way back, and she has my heart every step of the way. But I also have LaDoris, and LaDoris, again, another wonderful friend to us and our family that we've known for a very long time. So I love you both dearly. I want to thank Vandana, for sure, those late night calls, early morning emails, and Reverend Ray and the PACT organization for the work that you do in our communities every day, as evidenced by some of the speakers. And I also definitely want to thank the staff for doing everything that you did to make today a reality. And I know it's been at least 7 months since you first honored us by letting us know that we were going to be bestowed with this special honor. I thought a lot about what I wanted to say today, you know, besides thank you. Thank you so very much for this honor and for allowing me to share it with one of my favorite people in the world, who also happens to be my husband, Ken. I really thought about what I wanted to talk about today, you know, because you know that there's that saying that goes, nothing haunts us like the things that we don't say when we have the opportunity. And so I want to talk to you about something that is very personal and deeply important to me. I vividly recalled recently being asked in an interview, have you ever struggled to find your voice? Have you ever struggled to find your voice? And I know I have some friends who'd probably be surprised at the answer, but my answer is definitely yes, I have. And because there are so many people here today who are special to me, including our family, our children, grandchildren, my siblings, my mother's here, my friends, supporters of PACT, ALF fellows, Common Spirit Health employees, the divas. I could go on and on and on. But what that means to me is that I know that I'm surrounded by friendlies. I trust that you share my values, our values. So it's not my intent to preach to the converted, but instead, I'm going to use my voice to ask for your help. You see, I love being a part of the San Francisco Bay Area. Silicon Valley is a very special place, and I chose to live here and to raise our family here. I chose that, and I feel privileged to have actively been a part of its history for the past 47 years. But in case you haven't heard, we have a problem. We have a problem with race. Part of the problem is that we don't want to admit or believe that we have a problem. And the other is that we don't like to talk about it. We never have. It's uncomfortable, I get it. It is uncomfortable, but necessary. And we don't have the skills to talk about it, but we can learn. We really can. Of course, I realize it's not just a problem here, but after all, this is where I live. And so, you know, common wisdom says, you take care of things at home first. So this is where I want to concentrate that effort. I'm not talking about politics. I'm not talking about politics at all. I'm talking about people and the way we treat each other. I'm talking about respecting differences, even if we don't understand sometimes or agree. But let's try to understand. I'm talking about the right to a quality education, a safe place to live, the ability to work in a place that is inclusive and values your talent and contribution, regardless of the color of your skin. Silicon Valley is known for getting things done, after all, right? We get huge things done that are very important. We're the land of innovation. That's what we're known as. We invent things, change whole systems, save lives. In Silicon Valley, our diversity shouldn't be a problem. It's a gift that should be embraced, cultivated, and celebrated. It should be our superpower. And I know having the right people in the room, right, we hear this, having the right people in the room enriches the experience, the conversation, the solution. And of course, we all know that diversity is at its best when you can be authentic, bringing our whole selves into a room. But you know, we need to move on to bigger and better ideas than just letting people in the room. What is that? Where's the conversation that inspires others to be a part of the solution? Isn't that, after all, our job, to inspire the next generation? How do we make tomorrow be better than today? In 1970, my father had a conversation with my then 16-year-old brother about policemen. If you ever get stopped, keep your eyes on the road, your hands on the wheel, and don't argue. Years later, we had the same conversation with our sons. And now, we're having the same conversation with our grandsons. Deborah already told you about 1982, the experience that we had when we went to buy our first home in Los Altos Hills. And right after we moved in, or shortly after that, I was driving through Stanford University campus, and I was stopped by a police officer because he didn't believe that I could own a Mercedes, and he questioned the validity of the address on my license. But then, about a year ago, really, only about a year ago, my driver, who happened to be black and came early to pick me up to go to the airport, was pulled over. He was pulled over because he was parked in front of my house. I'm sharing this because people don't think things like this happen to Ken and me, but they do. And there's only one reason, and it hurts. It's race. You don't have to be a bad person to be a part of the problem, and you don't have to be a hero to be a part of the solution. So I'm asking that we each do everything we can to educate ourselves and each other on the subject of race, the value of inclusivity, and the power of belonging. Because I believe we are so much better than this. We all have to be more deliberate in our thoughts, words, and actions. And if we are, I believe, and it has been proven, that we can be successful beyond measure. I can't ask you to be braver in addressing this issue without harnessing new courage myself. And so I plan to do that. And so I'm asking that each of you discover your place in race, and for some of you to say what people of color get persecuted for saying, because when you say it, it's heard differently. We all need to find our voices and use them. You know, one never knows where inspiration is going to come from, right? Can be in front of you the whole time. Ken and I have been traveling a lot over this past year, and as a result, I've seen a lot of movies on United Airlines. But as is usually the case, we hear things differently depending on what's going on in our lives at any given point in time. And I must have seen this one promo on United probably 20 times. I'm sure some of you have seen it too, but one day, in a moment, I took note of this same promo as the words really resonated with me and reminded me of what PACT stands for. And so I leave you with this. Wouldn't it be great if human beings were great at being human? And if all of mankind were made up of kind women and kind men? And wouldn't it be spectacular if the golden rule were golden to every person? And the good things we ever do is everything we can. Thank you so much.
Wow. Isn't she great? Man, this is a tough act to follow. Thank you all for being here today. And it's always challenging to follow my wife. But she talked about race. And if you give me a moment, I want to talk about women. And I don't want to focus on you women in the room that impacted the Valley so much. And I appreciate each of you very much. You know who you are. People like Ladores. When I think of Ladores, I think of courage. Or Deborah, I think about loyalty. Or Fran Cottasponti, I think about giving. Or Ann DeBus, I think about being a pioneer. Or Shirley Whiteley, loving. And I could go on and on and on. But I'm not even talking to my close friend Kelly Mahoney when I think about a great mother, or my oldest goddaughter, Liz McLean, who's down from Portland to attend this event, who's a wonderful mother. And all of those of you who I can't name or didn't name. But this award is not about me, and is dedicated to my wife, Caretha, and the women of the Coleman clan. Family women who supported and guided me throughout my life. Thought I would share with you some of these women. Caretha Coleman, my mother, lived a life of grace and taught me to do the right thing and treat others with kindness. Caretha, you've heard from, my wife and soulmate, is my greatest critic, but my most ardent supporter, and reminds me, keep it real. Chisako, my mother-in-law, who we fondly know as Abachan, which is grandmother in Japanese. She came here to the U.S. as a young Japanese war bride almost 70 years ago, and demonstrated how to overcome and challenge the fear of the unknown. Karen, as some of you know, our daughter who passed away 4 years ago, taught all of us who knew and loved her, not to judge others. Clara, my sister, Kristen, my daughter, both educators, who believe passionately that all children can learn, and I marvel at the impact that they have on little children. Peggy, my sister who lives in Illinois, taught me to be true to who you are and don't take yourself too seriously. Caretha, my firstborn, and the leader of my personal fan club, has given me true unconditional love. Let me get back to Katie, my mother. Servant leader, pay it forward, give back. She didn't use these terms, may not even understand quite what they mean, but she taught me the values of family and community. These are values that Caretha and I shared when I first met her more than 40 years ago. PACT is committed to community. Caretha and I value PACT, value community. Thank you all for this wonderful award. Caretha and I are honored. Thank you.